Good morning, everyone. Today is April the 7th, 2021. This is StockCast, your pre-market show. I'm your host, James Mason. With me is Todd Derby. Todd, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, James. Doing well.
So to start off with, Dow futures are currently up 5 points. S&P 500 down half a point. The pre-market is flat. It is dead, straight up, flat-lined, like a pancake. Actually, I'm not even going to go that far. Todd, so how's Chicago?
Chicago's good. We head home today. It's our end of our trip. One of our members, Jeff Pincus, I'm not sure if he's on here or not, he hooked us up to at Gibson's Steakhouse in Rush Street in Chicago. And I might have had one of the best steaks ever last night. But the highlight was when we ordered dessert, he told me to get the carrot cake. I swear to God, the carrot cake was bigger than my head. And I'm not exaggerating. When it was a piece of carrot cake and it was excellent. So Chicago was a good trip. I'd recommend, if you have a chance to visit, the River Cruise tours. They give you about an hour and a half of the history of the buildings and the architecture. And I found that to be really interesting. It was very entertaining.
Outstanding.
Didn't mean to take up the whole show telling about my vacation, but appreciate you asking.
Well, my day wasn't that exciting yesterday, so I have nothing to say about that. All right. But what we can talk about is ticker SOS.
What are you waving there?
We talked about this last time. What do you think that is, Todd?
It looks like your wrist guard.
It is.
All right, good.
So, ticker SOS. Let me pull the chart. There's a fake pump going on. I'm just going to get straight to the point. It's a fake pump going on, starting up on Reddit by a small group of people who are trying their best to cause a short squeeze. Well, the thing is, any of the data that is posted for ticker SOS, it's either A, not updated, or B, they took the data down so hedge funds can't get destroyed if there becomes a revolution off of this ticker. Like, even looking at the share structure, it says 179.5 million shares. For the float, it says 0. For the short interest, it doesn't even have anything. It just has NA for the percent of the float being shorted. For the share short, it does say 14 million. Now, I've checked this on multiple sources. I don't know if SOS's information is just screwed up, or if they pulled it down, which could be a possibility here. And you got to think, the stock market isn't made for us to win. So if they can take our information away from us, they absolutely will. Just keep that in mind. But I 100% believe it's a fake pump. There's really not a lot of people behind this, at least not yet. And I personally think it's going to collapse. I could be wrong, but I think it's just going to collapse since there's roughly only a few thousand people behind it. There's no catalyst besides just trying to cause a short squeeze. So that's just what I see on ticker SOS. I know that's going to be one of these stocks that everyone's going to talk about today. It's actually at the very top of my scanner with this after hours move yesterday. I don't know. What are y'all's opinions on it? So I do see some comments saying definitely a fake pump.
It's on top of my scanners too. And, James and I talked to the pre-market. I'm going to watch it here and see if it's a possible short play for me. I don't think I'm going to go heavy into it because if they get a little bit of a squeeze out of it, they could run it up a little bit. But the key number is the pre-market high of 649. If it can't break 649, it's definitely a stronger short possibility.
Yeah. I can even pull up my brokerage account. Anyways, I definitely do think it's just a fake pump. But with that being said, I did take 200 shares yesterday. I know I'm just now disclosing this to you, Todd. I did take 200 shares yesterday just because one is 200 shares. And who cares?
Did you go long or short on it?
I didn't hear you, Todd.
Did you go long with it or short?
No, I'm long in it.
Okay.
But again, it's only 200 shares.
Okay.
So it's really just a play. It's like buying a lottery ticket.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's ticker SOS.
There's a couple other questions of other tickers. You want to get into them?
Yeah. What do we got?
CLII. Charlie Lima, India.
All right. Last updated short interest, 1.7 million shares. Percent of float. This percent of the float being shorted, 5.5%. So not too much there. Shares outstanding, 23 million. The float, 21.2 million. And see if we have any catalysts at the top. Looks like we have a few catalysts setting up. Let's take a look at the daily chart now. Oh man, don't even have enough data to get me a 200 EMA line. That sucks. All right. So what I would look for here, since I don't have a 200 EMA line, is I would need to see it break above these highs, these little peaks right here, at about 1506 before getting serious and making an entry. That would be, well, theoretically speaking, that should be the break in this downward trend and where it should start to uptrend at. So I'd have to see this 9 EMA line actually cross that value first. And really, my overall target price, unless they have just such a strong catalyst here, would probably be around this mid $19 range, where it starts to kind of top out at that arch of the 9 EMA. For stop loss, just quickly looking at it, and I'd probably tighten this up just a little bit, but a stop loss I would have in around 1387. Again, probably tighten that up just a little bit. But what I'd want to do is kind of right here where you see that 9 EMA line, it kind of comes up a little bit and then it arches back down. I want to have my stop in there somewhere. And really, that's just going to be you just kind of like keep an eye on the stock and playing it out that way. But this is ticker CLII, and that's just what I see, just breaking it down from a technical aspect. I wish there was a little bit more data to give me that 200 EMA line, just so I could see really it's the correlation between the distance between that 9 and that 200. So,
Dan was the one that shared it. Is there something are you in it? Are you looking to get into it? Are you looking to short it? What's your thoughts on it, Dan? Why are you asking about it?
All right.
Next one. This has never been asked about ever before, so let's talk about it. ITRM.
All right, Todd. You're in this one, ain't you?
Yeah, I'm in this, been in this. We've talked about it. I was being sarcastic when I said that.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, do I say something right here or what?
No, you can. ITRM has a June 2nd AdCom date coming up, which is an advisory com meeting for that you meet with the FDA. Nothing's happening with this ticker until we get closer to June 2nd. And then it will make a decision. The ticker will go up or go down based on that advisory meeting. And then it has a July 25th PDUFA date. So to me, I'm sitting in 1,000 shares. I will probably average in a little more. My average price is $1.70, but there's nothing going on until we get closer to that June 2nd date. Anything you want to add from the technical analysis side?
So from the technical analysis side, last update, short interest, rounded up to 5.3 million shares being shorted, 3% on the float. Outstanding shares, 176 we'll just round that up to 176.5 million shares. Float, 175.8 million shares. So got a little bit of shares on the market, but again, this is pending a multi-news catalyst, and that's what we'd be looking for here. Now, looking at the 1-year, 1-day chart, we are right at the point where that 9 EMA is attempting to hook back up and cross above that 200 EMA line. So that is actually good for having some bullish, direction here. We are also just starting to roll over green on that MACD, and we do have enough room on the RSI to make that push up without it getting too hot too quickly. So all in all, it looks good there. Again, this is pending news catalyst, but really, if I was just going to trade this off of a technical standpoint, you see where I just drew that trend line. I'd have to wait for it to break above this little peak right here, break above 189, so above 189, 190. And then we should, theoretically speaking, start getting a good push up here, get some resistance around this upper $2 range. Maybe by that time, start getting those news catalysts come out, and that could, make a huge determination as to where this will go from then. So stop loss on this. Let's see. I'll probably keep this one pretty tight, around 172 to 170 for a stop loss. And the reason why for that, if you look at these daily candles right here, you can see how they kind of go down and stop there. So that does signify a support, but when it does break below that range, it does push down pretty good. Overall target price, I necessarily don't have one, since this is going to be dependent on this news catalyst so much. But if I just absolutely had to give you one, it'd roughly be around this 360 range right here to fill that gap. So hopefully more, but that's just doing a quick breakdown on this ticker. This is ticker ITRM.
Good call. All right. Ticker DSS, Delta Samuel.
Ticker DSS. So I already like this long-term trend right here, and I'll explain why. So last update for short interest, 1.6 million shares being shorted, 6.8% of the float. Share structure, outstanding shares, 27.7 million shares outstanding. The float, 24.2 million shares. So love the share structure. For the catalyst, let's see. Looks like we have a catalyst that started coming out yesterday. I'll have to research this a little bit more, but it does look like there's some pretty recent catalysts that are wanting to come into play here. And let's talk about this setup. So with these low float stocks, I just think this is just a beautiful picture overall. I love these low float stocks that over time, they were way up here at one point, which I don't care about these numbers up here, but I like to see them just get hammered down and then just go sideways for like forever, especially once they get down here into these, single dollar ranges. That's perfect. And then we have that non-EMA still under the 200 EMA, since what would feel like the beginning of time if you got back here and was trying to go long in it. Now, next, what I like to look for is when was that last stock split? So we can see one right here. Happened on May 8th, 2020. And I then looked to see what the high was for when it split. So the high is $8.39. So that's a critical number, and I would go ahead and just write it down. 839 for ticker DSS. Because that number is going to play in this whole scenario for finding the target price. So next, what I will do, since I already have a number to go off of, I'm just going to find that number, 839. somewhere close to it. I'll just put it right there at 837 since it's easy to click on. And immediately off the top, that's going to be a target price. Now, if this thing actually does start breaking above, what I look for then is I start to look for more support and resistances. So there's one right there. And there's one right here. And then we do have some more above it, but I try not to get too crazy because a lot of times when these things have news, they spike up and then they immediately drop. And I'm just looking for the spike. That's it. So what I would look for now, there's actually two ways, in my opinion, that you can trade this. So how I would either trade this is if I want to stay a little risk adverse here, I would just wait for that non-EMA to cross above that 200 EMA, take a position, let it start moving up. Now, doing so, right now that 200 EMA is sitting at 566. By the time that would probably happen, that 200 EMA is probably going to be in that low 5 range, maybe the high 4 range. So around $5 is going to be kind of like your entry point. And then you have a target price about 3 points above, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. And if I'd done that, where I would put a stop loss at for this, and let me change this color once I draw it. Put a stop loss right there because we can see where that gap down at. And just going to change that to red. So I just put a stop loss in right there to kind of save me once I got in above it. Now, I am talking in terms of, trying to speculate here, like look into the future. So that stop loss right now, if I had to draw it right now, that would be at 546. So when I was saying a minute ago that we'd have to wait for those lines to cross, and it'll probably be in that low $5 range, maybe high $4 range. This is all the stuff that you just kind of have to watch evolve and see how it plays out to make an entry. But if that did happen, and I made that entry when it crossed above, that stop loss is going to be pretty tight, which there's nothing wrong with that. Now, that's just to be more risk adverse. But if it wasn't going to be risk adverse, what I would do is I'll just start making a small position here after researching these pending catalysts, because I do like this overall trend. I just take a small position here, wait a few days, see what happens. In a few days, I might add a little bit more. And this is something that you're going to have to keep up with. This will probably turn into a multi-week to maybe 2-3 months into this trade, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, when you finally catch that pop, your average for entry, your average price, you're gonna have a solid average price. And when that thing pops up, you're gonna have plenty enough shares that you will probably have a solid payday, and it will be worth your time, at least in my experience. So me personally, and I wrote this information down because this actually might become a alert later. I do like this setup. So I take a few shares somewhere in here. And when I say a few shares, guys, I don't mean like taking percentages of my account. I literally just mean a few hundred shares, maybe 1,000 shares. It just depends on your account size. Everybody's position size is going to be dependent on their account size. That's the first big factor here. Like, if you have $5,000 in your account, taking 1,000 shares is not going to be practical. You're going to be over leveraged and you won't be able to average down. But taking 100 shares, that would be manageable, because then let's say a week from now, you're 100 shares into this and it drops $2 whole. That sucks, but you're only down $200 and you can scale in at that point. So that's why I do this. So this is ticker DSS. Long-term trend, I do like it. It does have some pending catalysts that should be coming up within the next few months happening, and we should get a nice pop here. So, Todd, that is all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, we're good. Let's call it a day.
Yeah. So again, everyone, the market is pretty flat right now. Going into the live market, just keep an eye on it, and we'll see what happens. Other than that, go ticker POAI.
Yeah, trade safe, trade smart. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right, y'all take care.